I wanted to create a Mount Rushmore of footballers, right? And this isn't, we'll give a few honourable mentions as well. We don't just have to say 4 as such. But 4 footballers, if someone said to you, I've never really watched football, I want to get into football, who are some footballers that I should watch that'll make me fall in love with the game? What players would you pick? Let's go one each, one at a time.
Well, you've obviously got to say Maradona, I'd say. Just from the get-go, Maradona obviously just like there's that obviously that clip that's renowned of him, just warming up, probably high on coke as well.
He's
doing whatever he wants with the ball, and that you didn't see an awful lot of that in his time. So when a player like him comes to light, so many players base how they play off how he was, and obviously you look at Messi as well. There's similarities in it, but I think he's got to be on there.
Oh, definitely.
I think for me, Maradona was one of the first, or seemingly, obviously there was Pele as well, but seemingly one of the first players who really based the majority of their game around skill and the skills that they had on the ball, as opposed to either like physical attributes, strength, or passing ability. I think he was one of those that changed the way the game was played.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of players from back in the day where they were really good, but when you watch the highlights now, they might have had fantastic stats, but it's not as inspiring. It's not as eye-catching.
I mean, that's true, but I think my choice go on there from back in the days, Johan Cruyff as well. I think the way you talk about players who changed the game, he changed the game, how it was played. He's got a turn named after him. Everyone's tried to do it. We always try to do it, don't we, in five-a-side or whatever. And I just think, because he was a slight figure, he wasn't big, but he was quick and his balance, similar to like George Best as well. I suppose you could put George Best up there as well, but I suppose Cruyff had a better, more successful career. But I think just the way he used the ball and just the inventiveness of his play and stuff like that is what we still see today, or what people are still trying to do. You can't not put him on there, I don't think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one. And he had all the honours as well to match his ability.
Apart from the World Cup, that's the only thing
that eluded him,
and that's the same with a lot of players, isn't it? Like
exactly,
people will 100%,
not everyone wins it,
People will 100% look back at Ronaldo and think the only thing that he didn't manage to pick up is that elusive World Cup. Yeah. But it's such a difficult tournament to win because it's so rare. But we'll jump into the World Cup more a little bit later. I wanted to go in with my first Mount Rushmore footballer. And my first choice is Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho was incredible.
Flair personified.
Throughout his whole career, he had unbelievable skill. He had unbelievable passing and shooting ability. And one of the weirdest things about Ronaldinho for me was a lot of the goals that you've seen him score wasn't just about like pure power in the shot or like finesse. He'd score some strange goals where it's just like a little dink and it'd somehow just fly into the top corner.
That one against Chelsea, for Barcelona.
Outside at bottom corner.
Bizarre.
Like it wasn't no power behind it, just like woof straight into the bottom corner. Unbelievable player. Obviously had all the honours to match it as well.
Played with a smile on his face as well, didn't he? That's what you want, innit?
Did it in practically every big league in the world, bar the Premier League. And I still see clips of Ronaldinho to this day. I seen one on Twitter the other day of him playing like it was like volleyball, football, and he's still got it.
Effortless for him,
He's one of those. He's just when I say, if I was telling someone to watch a footballer in the highlights. The silkiness that he had on the pitch was just unbelievable.
Just
what a baller.
Like typical perfect Brazilian footballer, isn't he? That's what it is.
He epitomises that for me, though. Like for me personally, obviously you had Pele before him and there was some like, what was it, like Rivaldo and stuff as well before him. But for me, Ronaldinho is that Brazilian footballer, that skillful, just as you said, the smile on the face, happy. He did it well. So he's my first pick from Mount Rushmore. Who have you got next, Ellis?
Well, obviously, with the main four, we're just going obvious ones, but I think you've got to, we've already spoke on Messi, you've got to have Cristiano Ronaldo on there, for me personally. Just because you go in, like you just mentioned, highlight reels, and you just look at some of the goals that he's actually scored, it's fucking ridiculous, man. Just the technique, like you look at Ronaldo's whole, like he was mentioning Cruyff and how he put his staple on the game, you look at Ronaldo's free kick technique, I know he didn't have the best conversion rate, but a lot of people with a knuckleball adapted that kind of technique purely from what Ronaldo was doing. And the 4 strides back, the step to the left, the deep breath before the run up, like it was just when you think of a free kick taker, not necessarily a free kick scorer, but when you think of like a free kick taker, you would think of Ronaldo, really, wouldn't you?
I think pretty much every kid around the world that has played football in the last 10, 15 years has done that exact Ronaldo, like stepping up for a free kick.
I used to try it all the time when I was younger as well.
I think it's not even just that. Also, the fact of everyone knows his celebration. I think he's got the most iconic celebration in football history. Can you think of one?
That slipped my mind completely. That's massive.
But even people I know that don't like football at all will randomly go, "See."
Yeah.
And do the little thing.
He's globally recognised, isn't it?
I mean, like I say, I think he deserves being up there, but obviously putting my Liverpool hat on, I just think he's just a knobhead. Absolute knobhead. I mean, I get what you're saying about obviously his goals and the way he plays the game, I suppose, but like the fact that you mentioned his free kick thing there, and he didn't actually score that many free kicks.
The conversion rate wasn't great.
So, but we remember him for his preparation for taking a free kick, and that's what you're doing. That. Do you know what I mean? So I just think that just speaks volumes of him. You know, he's quintessential, 100% hard worker. You know, looks after himself, professional. But I just think when the camera's on him, I just think he cares about himself, to be honest.
Yeah,
but still a great player, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. On that note, I would guess that Ronaldo's not on your Mount Rushmore.
No, he's not on mine.
So who have you got next?
Well, obviously putting my Liverpool hat on, I'm going to go for John Barnes.
Wow.
But I'm going to go, I suppose, a small period in the late 80s, very late 80s. I think he was probably one of the best players in the world, playing in probably Liverpool's greatest ever team as well. I just think what he could do as well with the football, especially on that left wing, the way he can clip balls into the box, how many assists he would have got during that time, just unbelievable.
See, I don't actually know that much about Barnes.
No,
well, that's it. I mean, it's because obviously he played the latter few years of his career in centre midfield in the Premier League, and he was quite slow and still could pick a pass. But you speak to any Liverpool fan, he's probably in their, top 5 players of all time. Liverpool.
Wow.
And just watch the YouTube clips of him, like say late 80s, like 87 to 89, absolutely insane. I think he played at Ellen Road as well one year, 89, and he just absolutely ran the show.
Yeah,
I speak to any older Leeds fans, I'll let you know.
I'm used to everyone running the show at Ellen Road.
Yes.
It's very rarely Leeds that are running the show at Ellen Road. I mean, maybe this season we might, but I'll jump into my next one. So who have I got? Do you know, I've got a really strange shout actually, and I think this is just one from my memory when I was growing up watching football compilations and watching football. This was one of the players where I thought, wow, he was really special. I've mentioned him before on the show, and that is Dennis Bergkamp. So I think for me, not only was he a fantastic goal scorer and did really well in that sense, but he's also one of the top all-time assisters in the Premier League. I feel like he was one of those players that genuinely had every aspect to his game.
Yeah.
He was a really tall player as well, which most of the time, tall players tend to lean on that physicality aspect of the game a lot more. But in terms of technical football, there's some of the passes that he pulled off, brilliant. And the skill that he had, it was unbelievable. And I put him on that Mount Rushmore because, as I said, he was one of the people that as a kid, I fell in love with football because of him. Yeah. So if I was going to tell someone else to watch a certain player, it would definitely be, he would be one of the ones that I would recommend because...
Oh, special player. Really, really good player.
Yeah. Do you know much about Bergkamp?
Well, obviously, through highlight reels, you see a lot, and you've got obviously that iconic Bergkamp goal for Arsenal, where he turns his man. That is Bergkamp, isn't it?
It is.
You see that on repeat, and that does the rounds on social media constantly. And this is a goal that was scored like 2 decades ago nearly.
There's the hat-trick he got against Leicester at Filbert Street as well, where he just unbelievable. Like all the goals, I think, were like top corners, something like that, unbelievable. And then there's the goal he scored for Holland in the World Cup against Argentina as well, which was special. That was at 98. I think it was.
Of course.
Yeah. He's just, when we talk about like foreign players coming to England, you just think, they just light up the game. They just make players around them better. Just the first touch, the awareness, unbelievable.
Everything about him. And he was in that era of Arsenal where Arsenal were a really special side. And
absolutely.
Well, it's weird you say because they signed him, 95, and Bruce Rioch was the manager. So it's bizarre how Arsenal even signed him from like Inter Milan or something like that. I think he came over, didn't he, with, was it Ruud Gullit? There was like an influx of Dutch players or something in the mid-90s. But yeah, it's just bizarre how Bruce Rioch managed to sign him from Inter.
I always find it amazing. Like when I look back at footballers and special teams, a lot of the players that spring to mind for me in whatever list we make, whatever like comparisons we're making between players, etc. There's always those Arsenal players from those old Arsenal squads that pop into it. Like you've got Bergkamp, obviously Henry, Seaman, Pires, Ljungberg, Vieira, Campbell. It's just there's so many players from the Arsenal era that were incredible, and still to this day, their style of football would work in modern day football
Yeah.
as well, which is again a comparison you can make with a lot of players. But Ellis, did you have anyone else on your Mount Rushmore of footballers?
Well, obviously, top four players that we've already covered, like your Pelés and Messis and
Some
stuff like
honourable
that.
mentions as well.
I mean, but still, I think his career could have gone a lot differently if he didn't do his knee, I think it was. But R9, in terms of icons and footballing icons, him as a striker, as a young lad, especially, was just a cut above, really. And you've got to think the signature trim. I'm just thinking of people that have really like laid the claim, really like made an impact and left something along them lines. Like you think of that haircut and you already know it's game over before the game started.
Yeah. R9 was incredible. And he had, I think it's like the best World Cup record ever.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like if it wasn't the best one ever, it was certainly close. Yeah, I agree. That haircut, like a lot of people went and got that haircut, didn't they?
Yeah, it's iconic, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you was on the lines of honourable mentions. I'm gonna say, because I seen a clip the other day. If you're talking about highlight reels, watch Matt Letizier's goals, man.
Oh God, yeah. But Matt Letizier scored. I mean, one of his goals he scored for, like, I think it was against Blackburn at Ewood Park, like mid-90s again. I think it's one of the best goals I've ever seen. Like, just his touch and his technique and straight in the top corner. Unbelievable.
Like someone like him might go under the radar for people who weren't watching football at that time, like us, Joe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you look at him though. What was there, a free kick where like he scooped, like he got passed back to him, scooped up and
just volleyed it in.
Just stuff like that.